a very important session of today National Skill and Entrepreneurship Conclave being hosted by the Labour and Skills Department Government of Kerala along with APAC News Network. The morning we had the inaugural session in which we saw the presence of the Additional Chief Secretary Labour and Skills Government of Kerala, Sri Rajan, Industry Secretary of Kerala, Dr. K.L.N. Govan, ASDS Chairman, Srimati K. Ratnapavan, Union Skill and Entrepreneurship Development Secretary, Mr. Praveen Kumar, as well as representatives from Udyam Learning Foundation and State Bank of India. Then we have a perspective from the ITI of Haryana from Sanjeev Sharma. And then we had a special address by Professor Sudhir Kumar Jain, Director IIT Gandhinagar. And now we have come to a very important session of this two-day conclave, which is discussing and which will be discussing on various aspects of skill development, building entrepreneurial mindset, especially keeping in mind the new world order. What are the needs of the new world order? That will be discussed today and tomorrow, entire day in various sessions. But this session is very important because in this session, we have got the leaders from the centers of excellence in India, the centers of excellence that is called IIT. And we have got IIT Gandhinagar Director, IIT Indore Director, IIT Madras and IIT Palakkad with us for this important session. Role of IITs in imbibing entrepreneurial zeal to young minds. Let me welcome Professor Sudhir K. Jain, Director, IIT Gandhinagar, for joining us today. Welcome Professor Neelesh Kumar Jain, Director, IIT Indore, for joining us today. Let me also introduce to all of you Professor K. Mangala Sunder, Professor, Department of Chemistry, IIT Madras, and also Professor P.V. Sunilkumar, Director, IIT Palakkad. Thank you so much for joining us today. With this, let me start the panel discussion with Professor Neelesh Kumar Jain, Director, IIT Indore. Professor Jain, my question to you will be that when we talk about role of IITs in inculcating the entrepreneurial mindset to the young minds, like who are coming to IITs, how does IIT Indore ensure that?
Well, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
Okay. I will talk my view is in two parts. One is that, what we need to do with the education system and what the education system, what teachers should do, and also what the student should be doing. So our education system actually at present is teaching and teacher centric. It should be learner and learning centric. Second thing is that our teaching should be research driven. The teacher should be teaching to the student what is the state of art in a particular field, and particularly what are the scope for starting any entrepreneurship in that. Research has to be innovation and application oriented, and innovation should be entrepreneurship oriented. Now, when we talk of the students, so generally, teacher, what they do, they teach the student what they know rather than what students want to learn from them. And in that case, the innovative component in the teaching is missing. Student, when we see the students at IIT generally, they are actually not very much risk taking. And so that we need to improve their risk taking and decision making abilities if we want to make them a good entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship requires the risk taking. When they take the risk an entrepreneur, then there are chances of some failure. So students must be removed from the fear of failure. And the third thing which I would like to emphasize that in most of the time in IIT, students are individually, they are very fantastic. They're excellent, brilliant. But as a teamwork, when it is required in entrepreneurship, they need to work in a team. For that, their good dynamics and soft skills need to be improved, which probably, our IIT system might be lacking a little bit. And second thing is that, IIT students, they used to get the culture of getting the instant results. Results is declared in 3-4 days, and the things go very smooth. So they need to we need to improve their patience and perseverance, because it is required in the entrepreneurship. Now, what IIT Indore has done, we have a separate center for innovation, entrepreneurship, and incubation. And 25 our alumni have started successful in this incubation. And one of them is the solid waste management company, which has done a fantastic work, which is called as the SWAHA. This was started by alumni of 2014 batch pass out. And there are other companies, Chota Hospital, other thing. I don't want to name them. But recently, what we have done, we have been recognized by MSME as a design and manufacturing center. And we have still, because of this pandemic, we cannot execute, but we have got 25 proposals shortlisted and they are submitted. And we have submitted to MSME Government of India to start this design center at IIT Indore. And that has been demand of the MSME industry, which are there. A lot of industries are there in a particular area of Devas, Pithampur, and Mandideep nearby Indore. The second thing is that our 5 faculty members have submitted the proposals. They have been approved by the MSME to start this innovation. So we have 2 types of challenges, like starting the incubation within the campus is easier, but now we have got some requests, particularly in the biotechnology field, where the student or faculty or the staff member wants to start an incubation outside IIT Indore. For that also we are formulating the policy. In 2018, our board has approved the policy for starting any employee starting or student starting the incubation within the campus. For that we have got well-defined this one. What we have done, we have created a very good sort of center, and it has got excellent facilities. And for the IT and other things which do not require much of the space, we have given them the space and with nominal rent. And other thing which we would like to construct an industrial research park, which would set up a very strong ecosystem for the innovation incubation. But I think the technical entrepreneurship, IITs need to work towards that. We are also in a process of starting some courses, elective courses to our students. I think Badwani Foundation has approached us. So there could be summer semester training from that. And we are also in the process to start at least some elective course in the final year for our students and in the 3rd year also. That's what IIT Indore has done.
Thank you so much, Professor Neelesh Kumar Jain, the Director IIT Indore, for giving some specific. I think one of our speakers might have logged in through devices. So we are getting some echo. I'll request that if you can mute yourself, mute your mic. Yeah. So as Professor Neelesh Jain was saying that innovation should lead to entrepreneurship, and that's what IIT Indore is trying to ensure. They've got a separate cell for incubation, entrepreneurship and innovation as well, and he has given some example. I'll come back to Professor Jain, but let me go to Professor P.V. Sunilkumar, Director, IIT Palakkad. We are hosting this conference along with Government of Kerala. Professor Sunilkumar, your take on this particular subject, that how IITs can actually help in inculcating that entrepreneurial mindset to young people, and what kind of work being done by IIT Palakkad.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to say something about what IITs can do in imbibing, entrepreneurial skills, zeal in young minds. See, as we talked about, everybody today is talking about innovation, incubation, and startups and all those things, right? But basically, innovation has to become a part of the culture. Okay. And you see that if you look at in India also, if you look at regions where there's such a culture exists, they're doing much better already. So, our students, as Professor Neelesh already said, our students don't come with that culture, and they don't come from that background, especially the IIT students. Okay, so we need to build that thing. And innovation is not something which you do just in the innovation center, right? It has to be part of the thing. So that is the main purpose. One of the main things we have to work on. And and towards that, we have been thinking how to do this. We are in the process now. We are a new IIT. We just started about 5-6 years back. Okay, so we are in the process now of setting up that atmosphere here for students to get excited by innovation opportunities. We have started a technology innovation foundation of IIT Palakkad, a Section 8 company. We just started this year. And we are trying to set this up in a slightly different way, because the second component, which is important for this, in a good entrepreneurial atmosphere, is to have we need to have that ecosystem around, right? So we need that. We just and all IITs or all institutions which is on our scale, which is small now, can set up that ecosystem, that vibrant atmosphere for innovation and incubation and startup. That we thought that we will not be able to immediately do it within such a small place as we have now, with only 1,000 students around. So what we have decided that we set up this company, and we are trying to work with the institutions around in Palakkad, including Coimbatore. Okay, we are trying to set up this center as a hub, in the region. To start with the region, and we hope this hub would then have that atmosphere which will actually excite students to join into this program. So that is one thing which is important, and because we also feel that the students should actually get that through the courses. IIT research, IIT academic atmosphere is mostly research oriented, not so much on innovation and development. So we need to also get this into the course program. So we actually started this open-ended lab projects now for students as a course of as part of their elective course. Okay, they can opt to do this open-ended lab from the third semester onwards. We have started that. We are in the process of actually revising our entire BTech regulation to make these kind of activities also giving them some credit points, or some points which are maybe not taken into their regular academic thing, but as a requirement, so that will excite them to do such things. And we also believe that for the students to take up these activities, as again Professor Neelesh already mentioned, that our students are always scared of risk. Okay, so we need that support system. Okay, they should feel that support system. So that is something which we need to do. Okay, and that is something which we're working on, and there are good models. It's already worked in various places, including IIT Gandhinagar. I'm sure Professor Jain is going to talk about that, and in other IIT Madras also a very good system set up. Okay, so we need a good support system to be set up. Okay, so that people feel it. The students will feel confident to start on this thing. So these are basic things. The ecosystem should be there, activity should be there. Okay, so that they feel support system should be there, and also an opportunity for students to participate in startups. Okay, we don't think that everybody has to be an investor. So they can just. They don't have to be a co-founder or founder for every student. Don't have to get into that, but there should be opportunity for them to participate in startups, so that they see how it works, and then they get confidence, and then they will probably move into their own startups later. Okay, so these are the main things we are working on right now. Okay, and as a first step, we have set up this Section 8, and we are talking to all the colleges around here and the institutions around and the companies around in the Palakkad, Coimbatore region, and we hope that this is going to take off. So this is what I have to say immediately. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor P.V. Sunilkumar, Director IIT Palakkad, for touching on a very important aspect of this ecosystem. That's when we talk about that inculcating or imbibing the entrepreneurial mindset to the young people. You and Mr. Neelesh also touched on that you talked about that there's a scare of risk in the students, and you need to provide that support system so that they can be ready to take that challenge. And also you talk about that it has to be you just don't make innovation in an innovation center. First, there has to be a culture of innovation. There has to be ecosystem where the innovative minds are nurtured, and I think IIT Palakkad is trying to do that. I come back to you. Before I move to Professor Sudhir K. Jain, Director IIT Gandhinagar, I'll quickly take a perspective from IIT Madras. We have with us Professor K. Mangala Sunder from IIT Madras. Professor Sunder, your take on this particular subject.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
IIT Madras has, for quite some time, an entrepreneurial MS program already in the management department, and also has as stated by the previous two distinguished directors, an environment and a setup for students has been created in this institute now almost 13 or 14 years, with the research park sitting right next to us, and building its ecosystem, and slowly bringing the influence of the research park into the culture of the faculty and also the mindset of the faculty as an activity. Therefore, the first and foremost thing is that as an institution, we have to be excellent academics, research. I mean, there is no price that we should restrict ourselves to in terms of setting up that kind of an ecosystem, because that's fundamental to anything else that you want to build. Therefore, the teaching and the research infrastructure, however good it is, they have to become excellent. I think that some of the IITs are moving towards that. With that as a background and with the support system, with the industry participating directly into our teaching and the training programs, the entrepreneurial skills and the innovation processes will become quite obvious to the students while they are studying. Please remember, this is not something that they pick up as a skill or as a trait after they have finished their degree. This is they do when they join the first year of the institute. When they join and when they start taking courses, they see that besides the academic program, which they have to excel in order to get a certificate, in order to get a degree and all those things, that they have an entire environment in front of them. A research park is there, an incubation cell is there, and innovation centers are there, and there are special laboratories which are created for students to go in and look at. For example, the Robert Bosch laboratory for the data sciences that we have today in the IIT Madras system. I mean, it creates a whole environment for students and faculty members to walk in. Many, many years ago, if I remember, the same idea was told to us when we were doing the other educational project of NPTEL, or the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning. Carnegie Mellon had a very beautiful innovation center, but that was innovation in educational research alone, in terms of creating the best of the educational academic content. The idea was very simple. A techno environment is available for faculty and students to go and experiment while they are there in the institute, not as an afterthought after they have finished their program. Therefore, this has to be built in their ecosystem of learning itself. That we have quite a lot, and we are creating educational environment. Many of our faculty members are now essentially starting a lot of new companies in association with the Research Park, and some funding is available. So provide not just the infrastructure, provide financial infrastructure, provide the industrial infrastructure, provide the technical infrastructure. These things have to be thought out carefully, and it's not done by one or two or three. It has to be done by a whole system of people, and people who are already associated with the institute in full depth. Therefore, that part is something which the new IITs may take it right away as the process to follow. Fortunately, they will have an easier process to follow, because all the roads that need to be traveled in order to reach to a point are being explored by the older IITs. Therefore, at this point of time, the newer processes can very well take off in the younger institutions. See, younger institutions are younger institutions, not any lesser institution. They take time, but the activities that they pick up become more relevant to the social problems and to the skills problem that they have. For example, I have, after several years of associating with education and educational content development, now I have a complete new center, an academy called the Skills Academy. The idea of the Skills Academy is to train the students beyond the academic program, not just the IIT students, but students across the whole country, by bringing in the industry as partners to the training process. So programs like this have to be started not just by the faculty, but also by the students, and they have to be driven. And I think we have enough models from Stanford, from Harvard, from Berkeley, and from Oxford, and many, many universities which have created such environments. We have a lot of lessons to learn, and the mistakes that they have made, we can immediately see what we don't want to do and so on. So the entrepreneurial skill is not just something that you introduce to the student. Every student is an entrepreneur in some sense. He or she, when they join, they have certain expectations. They have certain capabilities. Are we enabling them? The best of the IIT students in mechanical engineering need not end up being a mechanical engineer, but they can very well become an entrepreneur in mechanical engineering design and in creating a new setup and a new laboratory and so on. Therefore, what is important for us is to identify the student talents very, very early on and asking those students to follow the path that they would follow, but giving them due credits for what they do outside of the standard academic curriculum. This is, in my view, a fundamental build-up in order to bring in. We are not introducing the skill to them. We are enabling them to exercise the skills they already have hidden in themselves. This is what I would say as a primary point. The rest of it we will come as we go along through the discussion. Thank you.
Very, very important point said by Professor K. Mangala Sunder. I'll just say what with what he has finished, that it's not only it is not about that whether inculcating them skill, but enabling the students with the right right ecosystem for being for their skill development. And you talked about skill academy. Also, you talked about the MS program already being run on skill sector for many years in IIT Madras. But I think the last part, what you have said, that enabling them, the young minds, that's very important. I'll take a perspective from Professor Sudhir K. Jain, Director IIT Gandhinagar. We had a special address by him just before of this panel discussion. Professor Jain, I'll ask you a different question because I already have a perspective from you. Our audience also has. But if I ask you, what are the challenges, or what is the main challenge in changing the mindset of a student from a person who's coming to IIT and then is passing out of IIT? It's a completely changed person we see. So how much challenge you face as from the other part of the court, right? That we are talking about, that we are all talking about what students should do and how you're helping the students. But what do you feel is the main challenge from your part? You are all the directors and professors in IITs. So, what's your take on that?
See, the biggest challenge I see in the growth of our young people is not their mindset. It is my mindset. It is the mindset of my colleagues. It is the resistance that we have to listen to the young people, to observe them carefully, and to see where they want to go. I feel that we as educators are not thinking enough about what really makes a student successful in life. We have too much emphasis on skill and education, and we have too little emphasis on soft skills. Let me give an example to you. If you want to recruit a driver in private employment or in a public sector or government sector employment, you need a driver. Now, you want that person to be able to drive safely, of course. But do you want the driver to come on time? Do you want the driver to be smiling? Do you want the driver to be behaving well with your guests? Answer is yes. And if you try to recruit a driver, to my mind today, it is easy to find a driver who has the skill to drive, but it is harder to find drivers who have the skills to drive, but also the skills to do the rest of the things. And I think that is our biggest challenge of Indian education system, whether it is ITI or it is IIT. We are focusing too much on hard skills. I would say hard skills are easy to get. If you are a driver and you want to improve your driving, you can easily improve that driving. But soft skills are hard. Soft skills are really hard skills. They are hard to get. If you have a poor attitude, if you are not punctual, there is no easy solution to that problem. To my mind, this is the biggest challenge I feel that our educational system has, that we, the academic leaders, the teachers, we tend to think too much on the education and skill and too little about the overall growth and development of young people. To my mind, if you can give our people the values, the attitude, and the life skills, nobody can remain unemployed. That is how I see it. When I recruit a staff, when I recruit an officer, when I recruit an engineer for IIT Gandhinagar, What is my priority? Is my priority that I will hire the best possible electrical engineer who knows the best possible electrical engineering to run my electrical systems in IIT Gandhinagar? Sorry, no, because I need to make sure that the guy is not a crook. The guy is not going to take bribes. I need to see that the guy will not have a poor attitude. The person will have skills to negotiate with the technicians, with the users, with other things. So, in fact, I very fondly tell my colleagues at IIT Gandhinagar that our priority in recruiting an officer for the institute is in the following order of priority. Number one, values. If somebody has a question about values, just don't discuss anything further. The second is attitude. The third is life skills. And the fourth is the subject knowledge. I would challenge the older generation, people like us, to think more creatively about the students. And that is how we have designed our curriculum. That is how we have designed our student relationship. That is how we run our hostels. That is how we run our student governance. That we want to produce our students to be able to exhibit those kind of life skills that will make them successful for the rest of their life. To me, that is the most important thing. And that is the biggest challenge for us. Thank you.
Again, a new perspective from Professor Jain. And I think it's a very important perspective that he said that hard skills are easy to get, but what about getting soft skills? Are we addressing that part of education that we are focusing more on soft skill? I'll take a cue from what Mr. Jain has said. I'll come to Mr. Neelesh Kumar Jain. Professor Neelesh, your take on what Mr. Sudhir has said, that are we not focusing more on soft skills and only focusing on hard skills, be it IITs, be it ITIs? Your take on that?
See, I keep on telling, what we check is the aptitude of a person. But I keep on telling, we need three more components. I compliment with Professor Sudhir Jain. The other is the attitude, the gratitude, and magnitude. So a person having a lot of, and there is a very thin borderline between the attitude and the arrogance. If the attitude becomes arrogance, then it's very difficult to handle the people. I think I fully agree with that. The problem is with the teacher. That's why in the beginning I said that our entire education system has to be learner and learning centric. Right now it is teacher and teaching centric. We talk about the teachers, we talk about what skills they are going to have. But what is important, like Professor Sunder also mentioned, that a lot of industry academia interaction is there. Now, what IIT Indore we have done, we have actually a sort of adjunct position for the industry people, where they can come and teach. And we have some people like Maitre Naidu from one IT company. He has been coming, and we have defined certain norms for them. And the other thing which we have done to involve some industry people in the research guidance, because they bring a separate perspective to when. So what we have done, we are not asking an industry expert to be PhD to guide a student. We have defined some equivalence, like somebody is BTech, but he has got 20 years of industry experience, which will bring the skills which we are talking about. Similarly, somebody PG qualified but certain experience, and obviously PhD is desirable. So that's what how to involve the people for the mentoring of our students. If our faculty are lacking those skills, first of all, now faculties are there with those, but new faculties which are coming. The second is that having more and more courses from humanities and social sciences, because that how it brings the soft skill part. And I think IIT Kanpur has a very strong culture, and Bombay also. These two departments are very strong, because people talk of the moral values, the ethical leadership. What are the ethics in teaching? What are the ethics in the entrepreneurship? If somebody starts an entrepreneurship, but he is not, we have seen the Satyam, how Satyam has performed. So that ethical thing in the entrepreneurship is also important to me, because at the end of the day, you will start with a personal company, but ultimately it becomes a public company. When it becomes from incubation, it becomes a company, and when you are looking for public fund. So that is important thing, where we talk of ethics and ethical values. And obviously, those culture would come when we talk more of moral philosophy courses like that, and the courses where we talk of the communication skills and other things. Sometimes, some good researchers are there, but somehow, they are not able to tell what they have done. So obviously, I agree totally with Professor Sunilkumar also that it's not something which can be done in the center. It has to be the part of our culture. I think our curriculum needs to be, tweaked in IITs, where we talk of, because, most of the time, for the sake of research, people do the research which is academic nature, open-ended research, I call, without having focus. Can my research develop a product, process, or technology, or combination of these three? It has to result something in that, and that has to be innovative, and then only when you talk of that, the internal is possible. See, if you talk of financial and other type of entrepreneurship skill, IIMs are there. What IITs can do? Well, IITs obviously can bring into the technical entrepreneurship, where the people just, engineering product, they are there to, make that thing. To me, the curriculum needs to be tweaked. More and more faculty from the industries are to be involved in teaching. And I think in the curriculum framing also, we do not take the perspective from the industry, this one. So what we have been doing, we always have a Senate, at least 2-3 industry expert, where they give certain perspective from industry, and also some alumni where they can bring it, they can have something. And obviously, the other thing which I feel is the interdisciplinarity, because you cannot do the innovation just in a particular field of science or engineering. So interdisciplinary thing, which also our new education policy has been doing. At IIT Indore, we have been doing this. A lot of centers are there where we do, like materials, others like biomedical engineering or astronomy, for example, astrophysics, which we have. That is where, people from physics, electrical engineering, computer science, and others are there. And obviously, the demands which are coming from the, industry and the government focus. If you talk of electric vehicle, if you talk of data science, it's not limited to particular domain. Everybody is involved in it. Electric vehicle involves whole of the people, so we need to think unconventionally, I think, and the new IITs, 2G and 3G can play better role. And, obviously, we have the example of IIT Madras. The government needs to create industry research park where you can have center of excellence between the industry and the academia, so that students get trained there, their thesis there, rather than doing in the lab, so that the problem is defined industry and you can have more thing which would be actually resulting in some real life application. That's my take.
I'll come to Professor Sunilkumar, taking cue from what Professor Neelesh has said. Do you think, Professor Kumar, that Sunilkumar, that it's time that we should also give a rethink in the curriculum of IITs, and also we should focus more on the faculty which has the presence of industry? Your take on that?
Yeah, so I think every IIT is revising their curriculum. And one of the good things about IIT is that the strong points of IIT is also that the curriculum is continuously revised. Okay, it's not stuck in one place. So everybody is doing that.
Our IIT curriculum is ready for the new world order.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So with the thing I mentioned in my first thing slot itself, that we are all in the process of, in fact, not only revising the curriculum but also the regulations. Okay, so that new things can be introduced into this. For example, introducing students into soft skill programs and entrepreneurial skill programs, and getting them more exposed to industry, etc. We should come through this curriculum itself. So we are making it possible, and other IITs are also doing that, I'm aware of. As Professor Sudhir Jain said, soft skill, in our interaction with industry, this is continuously something which we hear, saying that, your students are good and they are bright, but they don't have the ability to, most of the time, present their ideas properly. Okay, so this kind of soft skill thing has always been an issue. It is unfortunate that this issue has come on to the higher education sector. It should be actually something which should be built from the school, okay, from the basic schooling. Okay. Our schooling has become very knowledge transfer kind of places. Okay, that is also an issue. Okay. In fact, I think it has become more knowledge transfer centers than what we were when we were in school. Okay, and so less and less other programs. So the students come out and they also go through various trainings to write, entrance exams. So they don't have any time for anything else. So their soft skills are very poor. This is very sure, very poor. And while IITs and other higher education places should put in a lot of effort to get this remedied, we should also work on the school sector and then the basic schooling to get this corrected. I think this is very important. I have said this in many places already. Okay, so that is one point. Okay, so and IITs are working on that thing. So this improving the soft skills and also getting the exposure to this new demand for more entrepreneurship to come. Okay, and everybody, our mindset had to change. Again, Sudhir Jain said that our educators has to change. I completely agree with that, and I also add that our parental mindset also has to change. And that we should also say that the students should go up and then do things on their own. We talk a lot about Atma Nirbharta these days. Okay, but when we have a system in which till they pass out from whatever degree they have to get, their life is being taken care of, right? They've been given that kind of support. They've been given food. They don't have to go anywhere. They provide hostels. Everything is taken care. And we expect them to step out of our colleges and then become entrepreneurs. So they are not used to this, right? So in our whole childhood, the parents take care, and when they come to the college, the college takes care. Okay, so their life is taken. So they're not used to many things, decision making, handling, etc. So we have to build that also into the culture, into the programs, to build that culture of making decisions by doing things together, etc. That's what Professor Jain was mentioning, as the way things has been set up. So and we should move more and more out into that they should be able to handle their life on their own, okay, before they step out of the college. And in that, if you do that, they should be able to, they should become, they'll have the courage, and they should be able to become better entrepreneurs also. So this is what I have to say at this point. Thank you.
Right. Professor Mangala, Sunder, your take on this particular view?
No, it's very important. I think what Professor Sudhir Jain did was to nail the thing on its head. The soft skill problem is one of the most serious problems that we have. I wouldn't say about the students only. I think many of our faculty colleagues also, we need to discuss this with them in order to see that they are able to express themselves very clearly when they expect the students to do the same thing. Therefore, I think the training part is soft skills go into many dimensions. Since I'm looking at the skills program set of the entire national skills, the National Skills Ministries programs, there are 36 sector skill councils. And if you look at all the job roles and the qualification packs and the skills programs that they have created, every one of them has two components. One is called the hard skill and the other is called the soft skill. And if you look at the soft skill component of each of these programs, they are pretty much the same. One is communication, the other is the ability to interact with the colleagues, the third is to lead a program in a meaningful way. These are all modules which are added on to every training program, every skill program. To the extent that, anecdotally, I should say, if a graduate student of mine comes up writing a text for his thesis, and if I find a paragraph in which there is no mistake, I'm almost tempted to ask him, where did you pick that paragraph from? Instead of trusting the student that the student had the ability to write this paragraph by himself or herself. Okay, it has come to that level. I think what Professor Jain is saying is a very serious malady in the system of our education. It has nothing to do with the technical capability of our individuals. It has nothing to do with the ability of the individuals to innovate and generate or even discover, but it's the ability to communicate and make it as the program for others to follow in a way that the passion and the communication comes out. Therefore, it is an important point. But I really like the first point that he said, the value system that we have to associate with. there is no denying. I think that has to be there as primary. Everything else follows. The value system is either, I mean, in many ways, it's ethical, is moral, and legal, depending on which you want to emphasize and which you want to follow. I think the ethical value system is very much an individual one. The moral value system is more of a small community and the society, but the legal system is very clear what you can do and what you cannot do. I think the students have to be given the opportunity. You see, I wouldn't say that this should be compulsorily told to them, but they should know that without any of these things, they are not going to succeed very much in their life, no matter how much they know their subjects very well. So I think I was really happy that he put the order as the value and the attitude. And then I think, Professor Sudhir Jain, you said life skills come after these two, if I remember. And then the hard skills, which are actually the professional skills. I think we take it for granted that any student who comes to IIT or any of these large institutions, the big institutions, is quite capable of demonstrating the hard skills that he or she needs to. If they don't do it, partly because of their attitude, not because of their inability. And so it is very important that when you put this into a college education system or a university system, it is important that the arts, humanities, and social sciences, which introduce these things more naturally in the individuals, I think they should be part and parcel of any large educational system. We have developed singular institutions, vertical institutions, but I think it is sufficient. Now we have done sufficiently. It is important for us to have horizontal institutions where these skills are very important. Entrepreneurial skills have all of these things as fundamental in them. Not just your ability to do things in the area that you choose, but your ability to demonstrate to the others convincingly in a communicative and in a demonstrated manner. I think those things are important. So I'm really happy that he spoke about this as a priority in addition to the basic environment being ready for the students to play around with the technology and tools and the soft and the entrepreneurial mindset that they have to open up, but they need these four basic ideas. These three basic ideas are absolutely important. I'm really happy. Thank you, Professor Sudhir, for saying that.
Right. I think we have come to the end of this panel discussion. And as I was saying that when in the beginning of this panel discussion, I told our audience that this discussion will actually help us all to rethink and realign with the thought system of what is prevailing and what is to be done for the future, especially when we're talking about the centers of excellence. There's IITs. Everybody dreams that they go to IIT. But what about the decision makers, the key stakeholders of IIT? What are their thoughts, especially when we talk about inculcating, imbibing entrepreneurs into young minds? As I was talking to PB Sunilkumar or Mr. Neelesh Kumar Jain or with the Mangala Sundarji or Professor Sudhir Kumar Jain, we were talking about that how fast we can upgrade our curriculum as well, keeping in mind the needs of the new world order. But Professor Jain, as Professor Sudhir Jain, as Professor Mangala Sundar has rightly pointed out, that he spoke about a very important part, that is building up the soft skill. And we have to focus on that. And as we speak, I just saw a blicker has come into my phone, a news item from a pink paper that says that a new research has said, survey has said that the present workforce in India, out of that 12% is from digital skill workforce. And they're saying in next 4 years, it has to be 9 times compared to what it is today at present. So we all now know how fast things are changing, scenarios are changing. It says that by 2025, India need to have a digitally skilled workforce compared to what it is today. So that's how things are changing, especially keeping in mind the new world order to which all of us are trying to reinvent ourselves. And I think the institutions need to reinvent themselves. Students need to reinvent themselves, and above all, mindset has to be reinvented again to be fit for the new world order, where we not only upgrade our skill, but also we bend that mindset to become an entrepreneur, not only an entrepreneur, to become the change maker in the society. With this, we end this session on the role of IITs in imbibing entrepreneurial zeal to young minds. I thank again Professor Sudhir K. Jain, Professor Neelesh Kumar Jain, Professor K. Mangala Sunder, and Professor P.V. Sunilkumar for joining us today for this very important session. We'll take a short break and then we'll come with the next session, which will again talk about the best practices of states on skills and entrepreneurship. We'll have 4 to 5 states participation in there, and that session will be moderated by my colleague Sudhir Gautam. Is the head of South Indian resident editor, APAC News Network. I again thank all the panelists of this panel to keep in touch with us and keep teaching us so that we can also inspire others. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on this session.
Thank you.
We'll join us for the next session on best practices of states and skilling and entrepreneurship